Welcome to another edition of Tom Petty Nation Live. And a very live audience we have. I'm Mark Felsott from Tom Petty Radio, and this time out, it is all about Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers live at the Fillmore 1997, which is officially available on November 25th on CD, vinyl, and digital formats. Go to store.tompetty.com for more information. Between January 10th and February 7th, 1997, Tom and the Heartbreakers performed 20 shows at the legendary Fillmore West. Over the course of this show, we will play you some of the amazing covers that you'll find on the box set. And as I say every morning on the radio, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers are the best cover band ever. And we also have some Heartbreakers originals here to share their onstage experiences from the Heartbreakers are Benmont Tench. Say hello, Benmont.
Hi.
Scott Thurston.
Hello, everybody. Thank you.
And the new guy, Steve Ferroni.
Good evening, everybody.
And in 1997, you were truly still the new guy.
I was squeaky new.
Also, joining the conversation are co-producer, mixer, engineer, and the guy who spent months sorting through these live performances, Ryan Olyate.
Hey, everybody. Hey.
And someone who helped make this whole box set happen and oversaw the artwork for Live at the Fillmore 1997 and Tom's oldest daughter. Please welcome Adria Petty.
Hey, guys.
So I'm going to start with the band. Benmont, you first. Your overall Fillmore experience. How do you sum that up in 8 minutes or less?
We played night after night, and we were ourselves, which meant that we played the music that we loved. And yeah, we played the hit stuff, but we didn't just play it. And we got to play all of this stuff that Tom would just call out. If you heard it, I don't know if you heard Johnny Be Good. Johnny Be Good, Tom clearly did not know the lyrics to Johnny Be Good because after the first verse, he switches, and for the rest of the song, he sings the lyrics to a different song called Bye Bye Johnny. So, it's like clearly we were kidding around. I heard Pete Droge say, how did he know how many times to say, I know, I know, I know on the cover of Ain't No Sunshine, which we never, ever rehearsed or played or anything before. He just started playing it. He didn't know. Ferroni has an eagle eye and knows exactly when to stop. He knew Tom even after a couple of years. Okay, this guy is going to we're going to stop. The Fillmore show, imagine if your favorite thing to do is play music with your friends and play not just the records that people have really loved and the songs that I really love too, but you also get to play the stuff that you would play sitting around the house. You'd listen to other people's records of it, or if the band got together to rehearse or whatever, or do a sound check back when we used to do sound checks, the songs we would play. We didn't do it, but Howie used to sing at sound check this song called, a Huey Piano Smith song called The Lonely Frog. Is that what that's called? And it was fantastic. I wish it was on there, but we didn't do it at the Fillmore. But just that kind of stuff. The reason I loved playing with these guys, the reason I fell in love with playing with Tom and Mike, I fell in love with Mudcrutch when I first saw them play a bar long before I played with the band. And then I started playing with them, and then on through that breakup and the Heartbreakers forming and everything. All these guys that I've always wanted to play music with, my favorite thing. And we got to do it for 20 nights in one joint in a legendary club in a fantastic city. San Francisco was one of the very first cities, maybe of the first two cities. It was Boston and San Francisco that dug what we did and said, hey, come back to play there, to just park in the hotel, walk down if you want to the gig, spend a month in San Francisco, playing 3 or 4 nights in a row, and then you take a day off. Man, the Fillmore, You want me to sum it up in 8 minutes? No.
I think you did a pretty
It
good
can't
job.
be done.
I think you did
Is
a pretty
it
good
true
job.
that you didn't make it to a show on time once during the Fillmore
You know,
run?
I had somebody asked me that the other day. And does he say that in the course of this record? I don't remember.
Joel Sullivan said it in the liner notes that you walked through the crowd to get to the stage at one point.
The thing that's strange about that is that Richard would have picked me up in a van to make sure that we all got there. I know that there was a show. I will defer to somebody else's memory. I know that my friends Gillian Welch and Dave Rawlings were playing the Fillmore. I said, I'm going to come. They said, well, why don't you come and sit in? I said, great. And I went with a friend of mine, and we got there a little bit late to the show. I walked onto the floor to watch them play. Just they said, is Bilmont here anywhere, or did he show? And so I walked through the crowd that time to walk up. But I don't know. So apparently it's a tradition of mine to be so late that I walk through the crowd, you know, and so I'll defer to Joel Sullivan.
Steve Ferroni, now you were at probably a disadvantage because you had a lot of Heartbreakers songs to learn in addition to getting used to playing with everybody. Sum up your experience at the Fillmore.
Yeah, I've been listening to this record, you know, and when he said, did I hear somebody say Heartbreakers Breach Party?
And you had never heard the song, had you?
What the hell is Heartbreakers Breach Party? But, you know, I think the main thing that I found out about, because I'd done the Wildflowers tour, right? We'd done that. And I when it's just in working on that with the harp, that was, you know, I remember I turned down a gig and somebody said, well, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know, I'll do something to show up. And they said, well, what would you like to do? And I said, well, I really enjoyed playing with the Heartbreakers. I had so much fun making that album. I said, but you know, that's a Stan's gig, you know, and then the next day they called up and said, Tom's called, wants you to call him, you know, and basically we did the Wildflowers tour. So basically concentrated on what that tour was. I mean, I remember I didn't even know Breakdown. I mean, I knew the band, but I didn't know.
No, you didn't. You said, what record's that on? Yeah. I think the same thing happened with Refugee.
Yeah, it was in Chicago. It was in Chicago, and it was, Tom said, "Do you know Breakdown?" And I said, "It wasn't on the list of the songs that I had to learn." And he said, "Well, just go boom, chakum, chika," and the audience would go crazy, and then you just follow me. And he was a spectacular leader.
Yes, he was a spectacular leader.
Band. He could lead a band. He could make the nuances, the light and the shade of the band. You know. Yeah. But what I found out was that growing up, 3,000-4,000 miles away, you were in Gainesville and I was in Brighton in England.
Light years.
We were listening to the same songs. We knew a lot of the same songs. The other stuff was just was easy. You know, it was just.
It was really funny because when you're in a band and you're growing up, you wind up playing songs the way that the local band plays it.
Right.
Whoever's a little older than you, they play Wipeout a certain way, that old surf instrumental, and you figure that's the way it goes. Even though you hear the song on the radio all the time, you play it like the other band plays it. Yeah. I bet dessert to Ferroni because we started playing at a sound check, started playing Wipeout, and Steve starts playing the drum part, and I'm like, no, man, that's not how it goes. It goes like this. It goes like Ron and the Starfires or the Monty Quintet or whoever in Gainesville did it. And I'm like, no, man, that's absolutely wrong. I'll bet you the best dessert in town. And he went, you're on. And I bought him the best dessert in town. He was right.
I'll tell you about that. I just found an article about that. Apparently it was my audition piece for my first band ever. That's what it says in an article anyway.
Well, articles can never be wrong.
Scott, your experience, how would you sum up?
Yeah, get this train back on track.
Before I begin, I want to clear something up. The Heartbreakers would never take the stage without the best rock and roll keyboardist in our generation. That's not the way we rolled.
But he wasn't available, so I came along.
See why I love these guys. The Fillmore. I just remember it's free. Every day was freezing cold and rainy, and I can't remember rehearsing for it. I just said, I think we jammed a few things that we never played. I think
3
we played
days.
Sloop John B for 14 days. Never played it. No, a couple things. The Birds song, I remember we rehearsed it a little bit, but it was just a ball, and it was like a free for all, like we were playing a birthday party in our backyard, or it was just so much fun. And what a band it was, and Howie, we haven't mentioned Howie for a long time, but what a rock. What a spectacular musician he was, always. And
Let's hear it for Howie Epstein.
yeah, I stood next to Howie, so I had the full Howie-ness vibe around me at all times. So and it was glorious. It was a glorious band, and it's sometimes hard to have it behind me. Sometimes hard to listen to it because it's so emotional for me, because we, along with the audience, loved it in the same way. And staying sane is another job we need. So that's basically how I think about the Fillmore, and when I listen to it, it's the same emotional feeling I had then, except I had a job to do, and we did it so well together. It was such a machine with Tom at the helm, and so easy and so natural. It's hard to just put into words what it was like, but it's as close to heaven as I ever got.
Wow. We are going to go to an audience question. Kevin.
Yes, for this box set, how did you guys decide upon the sequencing of all the tracks for the box set?
We did this project because Mike wanted to do it so very much, and it was one of Dad and Ryan's favorite untouched, pieces. And we rely very heavily on Mr. Ryan Uliet, who is one of the most incredible engineers and most brilliant people I know. So Ryan, take it away. But Ryan and I, we arm wrestle over, we agonize over how would we do it? How would he do it?
Well, the good news is that we had the set lists from all the shows, and what you're hearing on this album is kind of there were 20 shows, they recorded the last 6. So this is all the stuff on this album was pulled from those last 6 shows. And Tom's thing was always, he didn't want a huge quantity of music. He wanted the best versions of everything when we did live stuff. So we went through and we found all the best versions of the stuff. And then it was really a matter of looking at the set lists and how did they start it out? Well, they usually started out with a Heartbreakers song, and then they'd do a cover, and then there was a certain flow to the shows. So it was just a matter of just really trying to get these songs to fit together in a way that felt like the way that the Heartbreakers would put it if they were on stage for 4 hours. Because in the deluxe version of this, there are 72 tracks, and it's 4 hours long. And it's something that I was talking to something about this today, and it's like the Get Back thing that Peter Jackson just did. It's something where if you want to binge it, you can sit down and watch the whole thing in one night, and it's amazing. But if you want to digest it in smaller chunks, you can also take certain episodes. And I think the way that the discs are sequenced in the Fillmore set, if you want to have a
an hour or so of Fillmore in a night, you can do that, and you can listen to it over 4 nights. If you want to just go nuts for 4 hours, you can do that. If you want to hear for 2 hours, it's kind of all these discs have their own kind of arc to them, and that's always something that Tom was so involved in, and so it was so important to him that there was a story in each little chapter here like this. So we did our best to try and follow that lead.
Yeah, and we work with Robin Hurley at Warner Brothers, who's a really brilliant A&R man who goes into our archives with us and sort of pokes us in the ribs a little bit about things and really stimulates a really incredible conversation, because we're all sitting here going, what would someone that we all know can't be replicated do? And Dad was such an incredible person in terms of like recording and stagecraft and being a band leader and setting up the party and telling everybody what it would be like, and telling the great story. And I think the 2 CD version and the 3 LP version, me and Ryan really kind of puzzled over what would be the ultimate Fillmore show. Like, how, if you wanted to just experience one show and know how to get all the way through that encore with Gloria, how would it feel? And that's just for someone who just really wants to know what that experience was like. But then, after they did Live Anthology, which I think is such a beautiful masterpiece of a box set that Dad and Mike and Ryan put together and worked on for a really long time. And Mike is always involved. We're sad Mike isn't here tonight, but he is very, very much a driving force behind these projects. And that long piece, the bigger box set is just so dense, there's so much to find in there. And it's so exciting to hear the band like just doing what they want without having rehearsed, without being so precise and enjoying themselves. It's like got this crazy energy. And like you said, like it's just like the most bingeable, most wonderful thing to immerse yourself into.
Kevin, you had a second question?
Is there any additional video footage of these shows that will be released in the future?
We have very little footage of these shows. There's some film reels that we took out of our archive this year, which we were very grateful to Warner Brothers for transferring. And most of that could be sunk up, is in the film that you can see online called the Fillmore House Band. And we did it like a little BBC doc, like a fake doc, because there was all this fun, cool stuff of the guy with the top hat and the apples and the cool requests board. And I was at the Fillmore shows, a few of them, but I didn't realize how cool the whole thing was. And that's just such a testament to Dad that he was like, nope, they're not going through Ticketmaster. You have to go to the Fillmore and buy them from the box office, so they can't be scalped. And everything was oriented towards a fan experience, And Dad notoriously was like, I don't want, a jib arm moving through the crowd, interrupting the show or the fans' enjoyment. He didn't really care about shooting shows very much. So, he'd have Martin out there with a 16 millimeter camera. And unfortunately, I think the night that Martin was shooting, we don't really have the audio for, so we sunk up other nights with that footage. But there's a little bit out there, but not much.
Cheryl, you have a question?
First, thank you so much for inviting us tonight to this amazing event. I mean, I really appreciate it, and I just thought the music was superb. So there were a number of cover tunes played during the Fillmore run, including 2 by J.J. Cale, Call Me the Breeze, and I'd Like to Love You Baby. Other album highlights include Bob Dylan's Knockin' on Heaven's Door, the Rolling Stones' Time Is on My Side, and more from the Kinks, Everly Brothers, Bill Withers, the Byrds, and Chuck Berry. Why were those artists and songs chosen, and what did they mean to the band?
Good question.
Ben?
All those artists are
been my question.
yeah, there's a word that critics use, seminal. No, all that is the stuff that really, really we loved from the second we heard it when we were 5, 7, 9, or maybe discovered it in our 20s. This is the stuff that really grabbed us and spoke to us. So this is the stuff that's full of the most joy for us to play. All of that kind of stuff, all artists that we really loved and respected. And the other things that we did, when you get somebody like McGuinn would show up and we would get to do It Won't Be Wrong and songs like that. Carl Perkins, was he on that run or the next run? Carl was on this run.
Yeah.
Yeah. All these people just meant a lot to us. Meant a lot to us. We didn't go through some grab bag of here's an oldie. There's a cover that'll be interesting and esoteric. It's the stuff that was in our hearts.
Crazy Mama, a J.J. Cale song?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
First
Three
time I
J.J.
saw
Cale
Mudcrutch, Mike played that solo, and I was like, "Whoa, who are these guys?"
You mentioned earlier "Ain't No Sunshine," the Bill Withers song, and that performance on the Fillmore box set just slayed me. You said you had not rehearsed it?
No.
Did you even know going into the evening you would be playing it, or was that
No.
a Tom audible on
He
stage?
just
Total
started it.
audible.
I think you can hear that he just started it. You know, you can hear that he just started it.
I didn't know for about halfway through it. I didn't know until about halfway through it, until he started singing. What the heck's he playing?
I think I figured it out pretty quickly, but you know, that was the joy of it. It's like the best stuff is the seat of your pants and working without a net. With Dylan one night in Australia, he starts playing some chords over by Howie and Tom, and he walks towards Stan to try to show everybody the chords. He hits the fifth or sixth chord to go, oh my God, we're going to play Desolation Row in front of 60,000 people, and we have never played it before. And that's the best music you can make.
For Adria and Ryan, did Tom ever talk about revisiting the Fillmore tapes himself?
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yes, he did, Mark. Yes, he did.
and what were those conversations like?
Well, we had done in 2009 this thing called the Live Anthology, which was this really year-long quest to find the best, and that was kind of raised the bar, and I know that we wanted to get to the Fillmore and give it that same kind of treatment, really give it that care and love and curate it and really give it its due. And I know that was we talked about, Tom and I had talked about that was on the radar, so it was certainly something that we wanted to get to.
And he said it in a number of interviews as well, but it was like his favorite run. It was, I think, band wide a pretty beloved special experience.
We have a question from Michelle. Michelle, where are you?
My question is, at the last night at the Fillmore, I know Tom was quoted as saying, we feel this might be the high point of our time together as a group. And 25 years later, does that quote still ring true?
It was such a unique experience. I don't think you can really say that. It was because the band continued for so much longer after that. A long damn time, for like 20 more years. So I don't think you can say that it was the highlight of our experience as a band at all. You can say that it was a phenomenal experience and an unforgettable experience and unique. You think, Scott?
Yeah, I wouldn't say you can't say it's the high point. We had so many high points, you know. We had very few low points.
Speak for yourself.
That was before I joined the band.
Yeah. I don't mean as a band, I mean personally.
Oh, yeah. One of the high points of many high points. Sometimes I feel like this place was special, you know. Royal Albert Hall, Madison Square Garden, you know, Hollywood Bowl, and the Fillmore was definitely one of them.
Did you ever get the because there was a radio show the last night? Remember the last night that we did there?
Yeah, Westwood One.
Yeah, there was a radio show, and I do you have that? I got it. I listened to that, and I know that it was great fun.
I'm told it was 4 hours long.
Yeah, I remember we started to play the encore. And, you know, usually like two, maybe three songs in the encore. And we got up to about 5 songs, and I said, you know, this is a whole nother show that we're doing.
And it was. We played until they said, please stop. We need to go home now.
I also think for Dad, you'd have to ask Dad, right? Because I think for him, as a band leader, he had more freedom there than he ever had again anywhere else, except when they came back to the Fillmore, to do whatever he wanted. He gave himself that freedom,
Yeah, that there in the Beacon, yeah. But the Fillmore, because of the length of the run and because of the period of time that it was just remarkable. It was a remarkable experience. Yeah.
We kind of revisited it the
Vic and
the Vic and the Vic and the Vic, and then we did
Fonda.
The Vic and the Beacon.
and then the Fonda and then New York.
But every venue has a different vibe, and every one of those is at a different period in the band's life.
Yeah.
So we were learning all along. We were learning to play better with each other. And so the Beacon, the run in the Beacon, to me stands out also stands out as a highlight in 2010 or 2012, or when was that?
2013.
2013. We did what? 5 nights, 6 nights. It was
a few nights. It wasn't 20 nights,
no, but
it was definitely a short run.
Yeah.
It was a run where Tom said, "Hey, let's play this one," and be like, "I'm bloody thrilled. I never thought you'd play that one," and it was like it was getting to. I always wanted him to go off the map, and at the Fillmore, the Vic, the Fonda, and the Beacon, he went off the map. It was like he proved my theory that if you play something great but obscure, and the song before it or a few songs before it you play Free Fall, and a few songs after it you play American Girl or Breakdown or something, they'll be very happy. The audience will be very happy, and so will I. He was so good. He was so good. I loved every time he went and, didn't just play the best known stuff. I loved it.
Martin has a question.
Yeah, my question is for Ryan. Is the full set going to be released in FLAC and or on Blu-ray audio so that we can enjoy it at level 11?
The full set is available as a FLAC download. Yes, that'll be available if you want to download it from your favorite high-res downloader in full 2496 with full dynamic range.
Whatever that is.
What about Atmos, Dolby Atmos?
It's also available in Dolby Atmos, which streams on. There are various streaming services that now offer that immersive audio experience, and it is available on those formats as well.
Ryan, did you mix the whole 75,000 hours of it in Atmos?
Yes, I did.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Ulier, man among men.
And
time.
to be honest with you, it was actually more of a challenge. I've done some of this Atmos stuff before. It was a real challenge to make it feel like you're in the Fillmore in Atmos, and because when you in that kind of immersive format, you really feel the space, and it's really quite fun. It does kind of put you in that place. So, yeah.
Damn.
Thank you, Ryan.
Benmont, had you ever seen a show at the Fillmore before playing there?
I had not.
Mr. Ferroni?
Nope.
I saw many shows at the Fillmore.
There we go. Tell us about one of the more special shows you saw at the Fillmore when you were a teenager.
Well, the first time I went to the Fillmore, I was 15, and I saw The Who.
What year?
67.
Yeah.
And I forget who opened for him, but I saw The Who later that weekend. That was a Friday night. I saw The Who. Then I went to the Monterey Pop Festival and saw The Who again on Sunday night. But I went back to the Fillmore. I saw the Yardbirds there. I saw, with Jimmy Page, a four-piece Yardbirds. No Jeff Beck. I saw Moby Grape there. I saw Richie Havens, Charles Lloyd. I'm sure I'm missing something, these are old memories. I'm sure I went more times than that, but I lived like 5 hours north. Grew up in Medford, Oregon. So my buddies were older than me, and they could drive down, and so we went to the Fillmore quite a bit. So it was funny when I was playing there for 20 nights, I didn't really recognize it as the same place, because it was. They used to have other weird traditions, like there was an apple, a barrel of apples floating in water that people could take. There was a light show against one wall, and so it was projected from the balcony sideways. So my 15-year-old brain and my whatever-year-old brain didn't put it all together, but I did see many shows there.
You saw some very magical shows there.
Yeah,
in the 60s, man.
For me, yeah.
You bastard.
Scott Thurston has a lead vocal on Live at the Fillmore, a song called Little Maggie. Tell us, is this something the band was playing a lot of, or did this come up during the Fillmore run? And tell us about this song.
I really don't know how it happened.
Did you rehearse it?
I think we did, yeah. I think we did. It was one that we did rehearse.
How did it come up? Did you play it one night? Did you just start messing around with it? Like,
Isn't it on Take the Highway? I think you guys
No.
played it during that tour.
I don't think so.
I think Tom says we should do a bluegrass song, and I said, well, how about Little Maggie? And you guys know that, and nobody knew it, but I said, well, it goes like this. So I showed him. And sure enough, he called it out.
But I think the thing is, on the intro, he says, Scott told me that he showed me the song, but I said he can sing it better than I can, so just he should sing it. I mean, there was that kind of thing. He just threw it at you. Yeah.
He was looking for a break. He was human.
How do you think Melinda happened?
Let's talk about your stay in San Francisco. I think you mentioned this earlier, but how far was your hotel from the venue? Did you
Just up the street, wasn't it? Just up the street.
did you walk every night to the shows?
I did.
Walk.
We could walk, but I think I rode in the van, except that night that Joel Selvin saw me walk through the crowd.
The night you were late.
It's probably true. I probably told him. No,
No one knows. No one will
I don't
ever
even know.
We don't
Steve,
know.
did you walk or hitch a ride?
No, walk. Me? No.
He was
No,
2
Tookie,
blocks.
I
Two
conserve,
blocks.
I conserve my energy for the show.
What did you do on your days off in San Francisco? What's the most interesting things you did while you were up there?
Steve went to the Chinatown every day.
Yeah, Chinatown.
I
I go to the House of Nanking restaurant every
he
day
took
for
me
lunch.
a couple times.
Yeah.
What else?
Yes, sir. Well,
You were there for a month.
well, yeah. Well, in the Miyako Hotel, they have a very nice bathtubs. So I took a lot of baths in those. It's like Japanese bathtubs. I was very clean in San
It took you guys a
Francisco.
long time to talk about this.
Yeah.
It's good you can finally talk about
Have
it.
you told your therapist this story? Benmont, what did you do in San Francisco? What cool stuff did you see?
I looked for a good late night diner, night after night. I may have found one. The best thing was just on a night off getting lost. Just walk around San Francisco and get really completely lost to where you're terrified. And there weren't any smartphones. You just kind of had to go, well, I think it was up this hill and to the left. Terrific. The thing I love about San Francisco also is I really love Dashiell Hammett's novels. He wrote The Thin Man, The Maltese Falcon, and all of that. And they take place in San Francisco. So the streets in San Francisco have these names, Turk Street, all these names that are just redolent of that beautiful era of fiction. As New York City, you get to the Village, Thompson, all of these streets, they're legendary from anybody who's familiar at all with the early days of folk music and stuff. Yeah, so San Francisco, you just walk around and let the history of the place, the vibe of the place sink into you. And then you find a diner.
We have another question from Tom Petty Nation. George?
Hello. So it's a two-part question, one for Ryan, one for Adria. Was there a single most surprising discovery while going through the tapes, Ryan? And for Adria, what was the most challenging part of the project?
Ryan?
Ooh, well, single most, I mean, I guess just for me was how deep the covers went. I really didn't realize they went that deep into stuff. And you get to things like Slaughter on 10th Avenue, and you get to, really, obviously Ain't No Sunshine was pretty amazing. I never thought of Tom Petty as a soul singer, so there was just the stuff that was there in the tracks was, some of the songs were just amazing. So I guess just the depth of what they went through and all the styles that they played through in those covers was very surprising and just so fun to hear, because no matter what it was, no matter what style it was something that they owned and they made theirs, and there's a consistency just because of the love that they put into all these tracks and all these songs.
I think, the most challenging thing is obviously that Dad's not here. I mean, it's painful sometimes to listen to the music for all of us and to hear his voice and stuff like that. It can be really difficult. And I think the sheer volume of music and trying to really make sure you give it its due and that it's not just he didn't really ever want to put out like a big jam box set. He wanted box sets that were curated, that were thoughtful, that were at a top level. Everything, I was talking to Mike about it, like, is it Beatles good? Is it reaching for this really high bar? And I put a lot of pressure on myself just because I know, my dad wasn't around sometimes to be a dad because he really cared so much about being in this band and making the best music possible. And he cared so much about his fans. And we never want to put anything out that we don't feel like he would be proud of. And I think that for me is always the most challenging thing when we do these projects. But, sometimes there's a limited amount of stuff, or with Wildflowers, he had already touched it. We really had a guideline of what he wanted. And for us, making the decision to put the spoken word in between the songs, I think was an interesting decision just because we really wanted you to feel like you were with Tom guiding you through the experience. And it gave us more of a sense of like how he would have done it, because we had his voice saying how he was making decisions. So I think that would be, it wasn't difficult. It was just a matter of coming to a quorum with Robin, with Ryan, with everybody and saying, does this approach feel right? Does it feel like we're doing this righteously?
You did it very righteously. Very righteously. As mentioned already, you've had some cool guests join the band like Carl Perkins, Roger McGuinn, John Lee Hooker. What was it like sharing the stage with John Lee Hooker?
I don't think you share the stage with John Lee Hooker. I think Hooker takes up the whole stage. He wasn't a big man at that point, certainly, and he took up the whole stage. We were just atmosphere.
Did you rehearse with him, or was that?
God, no. We just admired him from afar.
Again. Back in love again.
Man, yeah. I mean, come on, John Lee Hooker. And that's some deep stuff. I mean, next you're going to get Howlin' Wolf. If Wolf had been around, we would have done our best to get Wolf. You know that. But Wolf wasn't still on this earth. Hooker was his own thing. Hooker, like the endless boogie stuff that you keep hearing. That John Lee Hooker's like, that's the man who's he created something beautiful. Not everybody did something beautiful with it, but man, that cat. I saw him play a bunch, and he was something else.
I used to see Hooker when they came with the blues concerts through Brighton in England. They play at the Dome. And I used to love John Lee Hooker, and so it was a thrill for me to play with him. You know.
I'd seen him play, and John Lee Hooker would play. He'd have a plywood board, and he'd stomp on it with the heel with his foot to give the rhythm. But he'd come through town and play clubs with a band. He'd have a good band, like a really good band. But I knew the sound man at Club Lingerie, and Hooker played one night, and the sound man said, "Come here, come here, come here," and he gave me the all the way over your ears headphones that cut the sound of the club out completely, and he had just Hooker's guitar, and the plywood board, and that was all I heard, and man, damn.
During the set, Hooker had a nickname for you. Do you remember him calling you something on stage?
88s or something like
88 man.
The legends, the great legends, they all do that. Like Bobby Womack, I worked on a record for Bobby Womack, the great Bobby Womack, who wrote "It's All Over Now," which we covered in this set. And he'd go, "Organ, hey, organ." So that was my name. And it's like a piano has 88 keys, so it's 88. So then you don't have to remember anybody's name. I'm gonna start using that. Hey,
the great bit is Hooker at some play goes, you know, play the boogie. It's like, and Ben Martin goes, "You are doing the funk," you know.
Ryan, when you start listening back to these live tapes, what is the first thing you look for in deciding if something's a good take?
This is the old thing. I mean, this is something we came up with the. Well, the thing is that you can count on with the Heartbreakers that the groove is going to be good, so we don't have to worry about the drums.
The basic groove.
We know.
Thank you.
Your basic groove is on track.
Basically, it comes down to is if the pocket is good, if the vocal is good, and if the instrumentals, and the solos are good, it's a contender, because everything is always so consistent with these guys, and it's not like something ever really falls off the rails. Just the difference between what makes a good take from a great take is just there's a certain inspiration in the way that it feels, and there's a certain inspiration in the way the vocal comes across, and then any instrumental stuff. And that's really the thing. We're looking for that bar where it's great, or it just makes you go, it just connects. So the great takes are just those ones that just connect on all levels.
On some of these covers, you only had one version to listen to, because they may have only played it one time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But when by the time that they actually started recording these shows, so the recordings, like as I said, were the last 6 nights. This was an amazing. They had gotten so in the groove. The other thing that I think that needs to be mentioned is that because the audience was coming back so much, and it was the same people, it became like a kind of a communal experience. And these people, everybody in that room loved music, and music was the most important thing to them, the band on stage and the people in the audience. And you can just feel that celebration and that love, and that makes a difference. Someone asked me, and when they heard some of the sing-alongs on this stuff, and they said, well, did you have to hype that? Did you have to do something when you were mixing it? It's like, no, those people were really singing loud because they knew the tunes. They'd been there before, It was this amazing communal experience.
Final word from everybody about the Fillmore and this box set. Benmont, start us off. Parting shot.
Why is it me? You're supposed to start at one end and go around.
Ryan, you take it.
Okay, what I'll take it is that I think that the thing that's so great about this thing is that you find that the people that you love, who make music that you love music too. And this is just these guys celebrating their love for music, and it just comes through. And there's a joy that happens when you hear people having a great time
playing, and this was their band, this band and their native element, just having a great time, and the joy you get from it, and the audience reaction, the whole thing. It's kind of spiritual and it's infectious, and you can't help but feel that emotion of joy when you listen to it. That's the way I felt. I spent a long time listening to it, but it still comes back. I like listening to it tonight, and as you guys were listening to it, I just get the joy, and that's just such a lovely thing to have, and such a lovely legacy.
Scott.
Yeah, I think just what he said. We play music not because we wanted to be stars, or we played music because we had to. It meant that much to us, and it's the first band where I felt everyone felt that exact same way I was ever in, and that's it. It was joy. It was the audience. The audience's joy was the same joy we were experiencing. So it was almost religious in a way every night. So that's my feeling about the Heartbreakers and the Fillmore box set. Just we did it because we had to.
Steve?
Yeah, I it was a great experience for me, learning about these guys. I mean, we were just having fun, really. I mean, and really, for me, getting to know. I think we were getting to know each other. When we did the other dates later on in the years, Tony used to say Tom was putting the band through its paces, like a racehorse. Yeah, but it was a great way to get to know each other musically. I don't even think really it counted as a gig. It was just getting to know each other and having fun. And I got to tell you, since I've started listening to it, Ryan, you did an amazing job on everything. Really wonderful. And I've been telling it. I don't usually do this, but I've been telling him, man, you Heartbreakers has got some stuff coming out in November, man. You got to hear this, and it's just amazing. It really is amazing record.
Benmont.
It's really great to have a record of us doing something that we'd never done before. When Tom brought it up, I was like, whoa, can we actually do this? Like play 20 nights at one place? Will people show up? Can we really change songs that much? Can we throw this much on Steve? Because if we're going to play 20 nights, there's going to be a whole bunch of songs that, of course, he doesn't know or doesn't know well. I was just partly like, we can't possibly pull that off. And night after night, we succeeded at doing something that we had never done before. So every night, I loved that, because every now and then Tom would throw something in there that was like a challenge, and a challenge that was full of joy. The Fillmore. It's a step in the existence of the band, and it's documented, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. I mean, what the heck are you going to do? Go back to the hotel and take a bath?
Adrian?
I mean, I started this journey as the band's mascot. I was in my mom's stomach when they drove from Gainesville. And when I went to the Fillmore, I was a student in New York, and they just, coming and enjoying great music and stoked. My dad dedicated a song to me and enjoyed it just like anyone else. And now I'm almost 50 years old, and I look back on this music, and, that question was so interesting. Was it really a high point? My dad was always raising the bar. He was always creating an environment for great creativity and, a really humble and authentic experience for musicians and fans. And he never did anything halfway. He always tried to do things at the very best level he could and continue to challenge himself. So, as we do this now as curators and stewards of what I think is really important work and documentation of an important band, we start these projects and there's sort of an overwhelming amount of stuff. And then we see what we're going to present to the rest of the world. And we know that we're giving something that gives people a higher vibration. It gives them something that can make them feel good. It can inspire new musicians to try to reach these levels of communion and creativity. And, I can listen to the version of American Girl on this record and like burst into tears just because I hear the crowd singing the chorus with him. And it's so beautiful. Like he's so completely right next to them. There's no separation between him and them. And, I guess I just think I'm really proud of everything that they've done, and really proud of Ryan for being able to bring that level to life even when Dad's not here. It's my honor to work in service to this band and to the music and the legacy of my dad's amazing work. I wish he was here to enjoy this. He would have really been proud and excited to see that this got done.
Before we sign off, thanks to Will Botwin and Adam Holt of Red Light Management, to Lawrence Friedman and Katie O'Leary at Another Planet Entertainment, to Tom Petty archivist Allison Tavel, to producer of this broadcast, Corey Henneman, to the Tom Petty Nation folks inside the room, and those outside the room listening at home to Tom Petty Radio or via the SXM app. A final thank you to Adria, Benmont, Steve, Duck, Ryan. Thank you all for doing this and sharing your stories with the audience. And to everybody at home, thanks for letting us help you keep Tom's music and spirit alive on Tom Petty Radio.